He didn't just let the HOA tow his boat. He let them walk straight into a trap, and before this story ends, you'll see how one signature cost Karen everything. Ethan Parker loved quiet mornings on Lake Briarwood. His small fishing boat wasn't luxury, just peace. But the HOA president, Melissa Crane, hated anything she couldn't control. She called his boat an eyesore and claimed it violated community rules. Ethan showed her his approved permit, stamped and signed. Melissa smiled like she hadn't heard a word. 2 days later, Ethan woke up to an empty driveway. The boat was gone. In its place sat a bright orange sticker, towed by HOA authority. Neighbors whispered. Some looked away. Others watched like it was a show. Ethan didn't yell. He didn't run to the office. He simply walked inside, opened a folder labeled Briarwood HOA, and placed the tow notice neatly on top. Then he made one phone call, not to the police, but to a quiet man named Mr. Daly, the community's former board treasurer. Daly answered with one sentence that made Ethan's eyes sharpen, so she finally did it. Ethan stared at the lake through his window and whispered, "Good." Ethan reached the tow yard before noon. His boat sat behind a chain fence, dusty and ignored, like it had done something wrong. The clerk handed him a bill with a smug shrug: storage fees, towing fees, administrative HOA release. Ethan paid without arguing, but he asked for one thing: every paper connected to the tow. The clerk laughed and printed it all. Back home, Melissa Crane stood outside the HOA office smiling for a few neighbors. "We're protecting property values," she said, loud enough for Ethan to hear. He walked past her like she was air. That silence bothered her more than a fight. Inside his kitchen, Ethan spread the papers across the table. Mr. Daly arrived, older and calm, carrying his own folder. "She's been doing this for months," Daly said. "Towing, fines, threats. All without proper votes." He slid a document forward: board meeting minutes. Ethan scanned them and froze. A line was missing: no approval for towing enforcement. Ethan didn't look shocked. He looked relieved. "So it's not just personal," he said. Daly nodded. "It's bigger. And she thinks no one will challenge her." That night, Ethan posted a simple message on the community forum: "If your property was towed or fined unfairly, message me privately." Within an hour, his inbox filled like a dam breaking. And one message stood out: "I have proof she forged signatures." Ethan leaned back, heart steady, and smiled. The setup was working. The next morning, Ethan met the woman who sent the message. Her name was Rachel, a single mom with tired eyes and a folder held like a shield. She didn't sit down at first. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Melissa threatened me. Said she'd make my life impossible if I talked." Ethan didn't rush her. He poured water, waited, and listened. Rachel opened the folder. Inside were HOA letters with board members' signatures, except one signature looked copied, identical on every page. "My cousin is a notary," Rachel said quietly. "He said this is fake." Ethan's stomach tightened, but his face stayed calm. He asked permission to photograph everything. Rachel nodded, hands shaking. Over the next week, more neighbors came forward. A retired veteran showed receipts for fees that never appeared in official accounts. A young couple shared emails where Melissa demanded cash payments to avoid penalties. It wasn't just rule enforcement. It was control. And money. Ethan created a timeline: every incident dated, every document scanned. Daly connected him to an attorney who specialized in HOA abuse. The lawyer didn't promise miracles. He promised strategy. "We don't attack her," he said. "We expose the process." Melissa, meanwhile, grew bolder. She sent Ethan a foreclosure warning over unpaid community violations. Ethan stared at the letter, then placed it into his growing evidence file. He wasn't panicking. He was collecting. That evening, he mailed one certified request: a full HOA financial audit and the legal basis for towing authority. The clock started ticking. And for the first time, Melissa Crane felt something she couldn't fight away: pressure. Melissa called an emergency HOA meeting like she was a queen summoning subjects. The clubhouse filled with neighbors, tense and whispering. Ethan arrived last, come in a plain shirt, holding a small binder. Melissa stood at the front with a bright smile that didn't reach her eyes. "We have a troublemaker," she announced. "Someone trying to sabotage our community." Ethan didn't speak yet. He watched her perform. She showed photos of his boat, called it unsafe, and claimed the tow was properly authorized. A few people nodded, afraid to disagree. Then she lifted the foreclosure warning and waved it like a weapon. "Non-compliance has consequences," she said. That was when Ethan stood up. He didn't raise his voice. He simply asked, "Can you show the vote approving towing enforcement?" Melissa blinked. "It's in the records," she snapped. Ethan turned to the crowd. "I requested those records. Legally. Certified mail." He held up the receipt. They refused. Murmurs spread. Melissa's smile tightened. Ethan continued, "I also have copies of meeting minutes. The approval line is missing." He opened the binder and displayed the page on the projector. Daly, sitting quietly in the back, stood and said, "I was treasurer. That vote never happened." Melissa's face changed, just for a second, like a mask slipping. Then she laughed too loudly. "This is misinformation," she said. "He's manipulating you." Ethan nodded once. "Then let an independent audit prove me wrong." The room went silent. Even her supporters hesitated. Melissa slammed the gavel. "Meeting adjourned." She shouted, but as neighbors filed out, Ethan heard the words he needed most: "We should look into this." Melissa wasn't losing yet. But her grip was cracking. 2 days later, Ethan's attorney filed a formal complaint. It wasn't dramatic. It was deadly calm: documents, timelines, sworn statements. The HOA's insurance company received copies too. That part mattered, because insurance companies hate one thing more than lawsuits: fraud. Melissa responded with another threat letter, this one colder. "Cease and desist," it said. "You are harassing the board." Ethan almost laughed. He hadn't harassed anyone. He had simply asked for truth. Then the first domino fell. The tow company called Ethan directly. The manager sounded nervous. "Sir, we received a legal inquiry. We towed your boat under HOA instruction, but we never got the required authorization form." Ethan asked one question: "Who signed the order?" The manager hesitated. "Melissa Crane." That evening, Rachel sent Ethan a new photo: Melissa handing an envelope to a contractor behind the clubhouse. Not proof by itself, but it matched the pattern. Ethan forwarded it to his attorney, who replied with one sentence: "We're ready." Court day arrived like a storm without rain. Melissa walked in wearing a bright blazer, confident, surrounded by 2 board members who looked like they wanted to disappear. Ethan sat quietly with his lawyer and Daly. He didn't glare. He didn't smile. He waited. The judge asked for the HOA's towing authority documentation. Melissa's lawyer shuffled papers. Stalling. "We'll submit," he said. The judge frowned. "Submit now." Silence. Ethan's attorney stood and placed the missing boat records on the table. "Your Honor," he said, "the HOA never approved towing enforcement. And the signatures used were forged." Melissa's eyes widened. For the first time, she looked afraid. The courtroom didn't erupt. It chilled. The judge leaned forward, scanning the documents with slow focus. Melissa's lawyer tried to argue clerical errors, but the evidence was too clean. The notary statement confirmed copied signatures. The treasurer records showed missing funds. And the tow company admitted they acted without valid authorization. Melissa finally spoke, voice sharp. "He's exaggerating. He's turning neighbors against me." The judge didn't look impressed. "Ms. Crane," he said, "this case isn't about feelings. It's about procedure and misuse of authority." Ethan watched her hands. They weren't steady anymore. Then the twist hit like lightning. Ethan's attorney revealed one more file: the HOA insurance policy clause. If fraud or intentional misconduct occurred, coverage could be denied and damages could be personally owed. Melissa's face drained. She had assumed the HOA would protect her. But the HOA was now distancing itself like a sinking ship. The judge ordered an independent audit and froze the HOA's ability to issue enforcement actions until reviewed. He also ruled Ethan's tow fees must be refunded with penalties. But that wasn't the headline. Outside court, reporters asked one question: did she really threaten foreclosure? Ethan's attorney answered, holding the letter up. Cameras flashed. Neighbors who once avoided Ethan now stood behind him. Melissa pushed through the crowd, trying to leave. But her own board members stepped away from her. She looked around like she couldn't understand it. Her power wasn't just challenged. It was evaporating. That night, the audit results arrived faster than anyone expected. The numbers didn't just show mistakes. They showed a hole. A very expensive hole. And Melissa's name was all over it. The audit landed like a verdict before the verdict. Missing funds. Unapproved payments. Administrative fees routed into accounts no one recognized. The court didn't need drama, only math. When the final hearing came, Melissa tried to blame contractors, past boards, even confusing bookkeeping. But the judge asked one simple question: why do these transfers match your personal address? Silence answered first. Then Melissa's voice cracked. I didn't mean. She stopped, realizing the room had already decided who she was. The ruling was clear: Melissa was personally liable for damages tied to the fraudulent enforcement actions. Between penalties, refunds, and legal costs, the total climbed higher and higher until the final number hit the record like a hammer: $185,000. Ethan didn't celebrate. He didn't smile at her downfall. He just breathed, like someone finally allowed to live in his own home again. The judge also ordered new board elections and strict oversight. Neighbors who once stayed quiet now apologized to Ethan in the parking lot. Rachel hugged her son, whispering, "We're safe." Melissa walked out alone, no supporters, no speeches, only consequences. Ethan returned to Lake Briarwood the next morning. He launched his boat, sunlight dancing on the water, and for the first time in months, peace felt real. And that was the final twist in this unbelievable HOA story. If you loved the drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment sharing your thoughts. It really helps this channel grow.